My name is Bonnie Heath, and I'm a parent of an adult with Down syndrome. And I also run a group called Scarborough Residential Alternatives. And the reason I'm telling you that is that's the reason I'm on the Housing Task Force. So I represent family groups on the task force. So the committee comprises individuals with developmental delays, family members, family groups, agencies from all across Ontario, because it's a provincial committee. And we work together to establish innovative residential opportunities and supports for adults with developmental delays. We came about in September of 2014, and we were originally a 2-year committee. And at our first meeting, we established that we had to get in touch with people, and how to get in touch with people, and how to make conversations happen. So we established a Facebook within that first month. And it was to give individuals, their families, agencies an opportunity to network, to put their ideas out there, for us to post things on there as well, and hopefully to reach a wider audience than just by having forums or whatever. So we had established that we're going to have 2 rounds of calls for proposals. The reasoning for this was, one, we were going to do one right away, and some families, some agencies were immediately ready to go. They had all their ideas, they knew what they wanted, and they had it ready to go. So those folks could get in the first round, and then in the second round, the next group had more time to think about what it was. They saw what the proposal would look like, and they could get things ready. And as we worked with the ministry on the amount of money that we would have to spend on these proposals, we also said that we had to have a commitment that once these projects were finished, they weren't finished. So the ones that were successful were working with people. And we can't just say, okay, well, thanks a lot, you were very successful, and now you have to go back to what you were doing before. So we had to, before we would do anything, we had to make sure we had that commitment from the ministry. So before the end of the second year, we knew that the learning from the project was just beginning. They were getting established, and we would need more time to know what it was that we were going to learn from these projects and what we were going to figure out to make up new, innovative ways of thinking about housing. So we asked for a 2-year extension, and eventually we received that. During this time, we also wrote papers to the National Affordable Housing Strategy, to the Provincial Affordable Housing Strategy, and also to HOT, which is Housing Opportunities Toronto. These are the strategies that are now coming out. We've just heard about the National Housing Strategy. The Provincial is also doing stuff with that, so we have an election coming up, so there should be more information and talking about what each party will be doing in that area. All the members from the committee are from all over Ontario, because we need representation of the various different communities that we have out there. And we want to connect people and keep them informed and encourage everyone to join the Facebook page. We've got little over 1,500 people on the Facebook page. We've had excellent conversations of what's happening in various areas around the province, and various families are now starting to get together, and people are saying, okay, I live here, what's going on in our area, and how can I get connected with other people? And families in that area will be saying, well, this is starting, this has been established, or whatever, and this is how you get in touch. So it's starting to connect people really well. For the calls for submissions to the government associations, we've attended many. So we've been to the OMSA, which is Ontario Municipal Social Services Association, to inform municipalities that individuals with developmental delays need housing as well. We're not always on the service manager's radar, so, or if you talk to people that are have the ability to set money aside for affordable housing, if you talk to them about individuals with developmental disabilities, they say, oh, well, that's MCSS, they're looked after over there. But it's a basic housing need, they're low income, they should be on these lists and should be given, nowadays, we think, priority over some of others. In the past year and a half, the committee members have all been connecting with the project to see how things are going. We're not just looking at what was a success, but where were the issues, where were the failures, where did it go wrong, and they had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to correct that and how to make it work. Because out of that learning, if this type of housing works in that area, it could be working in another area. But what were the pitfalls and what were the things that they found hard to work out or didn't work out at all, and they had to find new partners in some cases. So all that learning can be given out to other people that are doing the same thing, and hopefully they can avoid some of those things that had happened. So we've all been liaisoning with the projects, finding out what's going on, talking to the individuals themselves who are now in their own home and are doing wonderfully well. We had a couple of ones too that were just sort of research findings. So there was one on housing trusts, and there was one on a DSW cooperative, which was in Ottawa, and they have now started their own business for support staff. Also, these projects that we looked at and sent to the ministry for approval didn't necessarily fit into the usual boxes that the ministry has to put how they do their business, right? So, and that's exactly what we wanted, because what's the point of having to say these are your boxes that you can fit into and figure out how to make it innovative? It's not innovative. So the ministry themselves had to figure out, after all these things were done, how are we going to pay for them? What means does the money flow through? Things like that. So it was totally innovative on their part, which is good going forward, because if we are going to replicate or do more of these different types of housing situations, money has to come from somewhere, and how does it flow through? So in the fall of 2017, the Housing Task Force was part of the ministry's Unique Housing Forum. I don't know if any of you attended or remember it. They had 5 sites all over Ontario. They had it hooked up, so it was broadcast live, and they had people from all over, and not just agencies. They had individuals, families, all kinds of different groups of people to follow in on the discussion. So in the morning they had a panel discussion that was broadcast live on the ministry site, and then in the afternoon they broke out into groups to brainstorm various things. So, and what would work best in the area that they were in. So the Housing Task Force decided to take it one step further and say families and individuals themselves are not always brought in the same kind of numbers as agencies are, so let's encourage family groups to get together on that day, follow the ministry's live presentation in the morning, and then brainstorm the same questions that were being brainstormed in these discussions around the country. So we had over 100 people that were attended through this method, and then we had a email account that they could send their submissions to, so that they could have their say on the same day in the same fashion as what was going on in these various groups. So the ministry got a lot of information from a lot of different stakeholders in the continuum. And the link there is, you can still watch the panel discussion on that. And if you have any suggestions or comments or whatever, you can still send it into the ministry. So what's happening now? We're coming into our 4th year, so we're coming into the end of the Housing Task Force. There is an end for us. It's a volunteer group, and we do have jobs. We have reams of documents, we have tons of information that's been gathered up from all these things, and they are being sorted through into various themes and organizing it into a way that as a committee we're not equipped to do. So that's been in the process for the last few months, and we're currently talking about how the end product is going to look, and how to present it, because we want to be innovative, so we don't want it just to be a paper. We're looking at other ways of doing it as social media, so that there's interaction and things like that happening with it as well. And how to get all the views and things looked at. So we're in the process of collecting some information on assistive technologies, because a lot of technologies that are out there can be used by individuals that not necessarily replace a support person, but gives them more independence on their own, so that they can manage things themselves. So there is a survey out there if you get a chance to, if you know what different kinds of technologies that your folks are using, that you work with, please send it in. There is on the Partners for Planning website, there is a Housing Task Force booklet that has all 18 projects on there. They're also interactive, so you'll have the various stakeholders that are talking on there. It gives an update of what the projects are going through. All the projects are finished at this time. All the projects have continued their funding, so as I said, we had that commitment right from the beginning that it wasn't going to end when the project ends. So there are numerous numbers of people that have now living in their own home in a different situation than what's normally been out there. We've also asked for some feedback on the Facebook page, because at the end of our committee, we won't be monitoring it anymore, but we didn't want it to just die, because there are over 1,500 individuals and families and agencies and people that are talking out there from all over the province, and it would be a shame to just have that end at the end of ours. So we're working on different ways of continuing this and having someone sort of monitor it to make sure everybody's being friendly on the page. So there is another survey, I know lots of surveys, and that's the link there. And I see we've already finished the survey, so so if you want to contact the Housing Task Force, there is the Facebook page. You can just go on Facebook, and then in the top do a search on the Ontario Developmental Services Housing Task Force and join the group. There's also an email that, for those that don't like Facebook, you can send us an email, ask questions, give us suggestions, tell us the stuff that's worked in your area that's been different, or what hasn't worked is just as important, because we do want to avoid pitfalls when you are dealing with people's lives. So we do have an election coming up, so we're looking at when to give in the paper, because it becomes very strategic, because if you give it too early, then it just gets shelved. If you give it during the election, the party that's currently in there doesn't get in there, say, where does it go from there? So we're working on the timing of when to actually deliver it to the ministry, and it will also be made public, because people have to know what's going on and what kind of things we're thinking of. We're also looking at the language of how we say things, because none of the housing that we've worked on is a model. We don't want to think of things as models, because once you label it as a model, you have to tick off the various boxes to say that, okay, all these things fit, and so this is how that person is going to live. And we're looking more at doing it individually, thinking of how individuals want to live their lives, and what kind of supports and things that they'll need to get that done. So it's looking at those ideas, even though every once in a while somebody will say no model, but we're trying to get out of that sort of language, because this is people living their own lives, and they deserve their own lives, and they need to have the support that gets there. So again, trying to do it totally differently than ways that have been done in the past. Okay, any questions?
So thank you on behalf of the chairwoman.